Bugchasing, Wikipedia article audio. Bugchasing, also known in slang as charging, is the practice of pursuing sexual activity with HIV-positive individuals in order to contract HIV. Individuals engaged in this activity are referred to as bugchasers. It is a form of self-harm. Bugchasers seek sexual partners who are HIV positive for the purpose of having unprotected sex and becoming HIV positive. Gift givers are HIV positive individuals who comply with the bugchasers' efforts to become infected with HIV. Bugchasers indicate various reasons for this activity. Some bugchasers engage in the activity for the excitement and intimacy inherent in pursuing such a dangerous activity, but do not implicitly desire to contract HIV. Some researchers suggest that the behavior may stem from a resistance to dominant heterosexual norms and mores due to a defensive response by gay men to repudiate stigmatization and rejection by society. Aspects. Research. Some people consider bugchasing intensely erotic and the act of being infected through the fuck of death as the ultimate taboo, the most extreme sex act left. People who are HIV negative and in a relationship with someone who is HIV positive may seek infection as a way to remain in the relationship, particularly when the HIV positive partner may wish to break up to avoid infecting the HIV negative partner. Others have suggested that some people who feel lonely desire the nurturing community and social services that support people with HIV/AIDS. It has also been used as a form of suicide. By design, bugchasing involves unprotected sex, but members of the bareback subculture are not necessarily bugchasers. The difference is intent. In reviewing the scarce unpublished and published materials on bugchasing, as well as general healthcare speculations, a common theme appears: the lumping of bugchasers with barebackers. Although these two groups share some of the same practices, namely unprotected anal intercourse, there are distinctions that differentiate bugchasing. Even though all bugchasers are indeed barebackers, not all barebackers are bugchasers. In simple terms, bugchasers engage in unprotected intercourse, and seek out partners with HIV, because they desire infection. Barebackers engage in unprotected intercourse because they prefer the sensation of it but generally prefer to avoid contracting STIs. While actual activity is the same for both groups, the two do not share the same psychology. Barebackers conceptually have the same motivation as heterosexual couples that use non-barrier methods of birth control, and, in contrast with bugchasers, do not deliberately seek HIV-infected partners. Medical response. As many bugchasers appear to be seeking the community and sympathy that HIV and individuals experience, comparisons have been drawn with Munchausen syndrome. Over the past decade, researchers have endeavored to document, explain, and look for a solution to bugchasing. Dr. Deanne Gauthier and Dr. Craig Forsyth put forth the first academic article in 1999. They explored the emerging trend of gay men who eschew condoms and the development of a barebacking subculture. They also noted through their qualitative research that some barebackers were in search of HIV. In mainstream media, Dr. Richard Tewksbury was one of the first researchers to acknowledge bugchasing online and that bugchasers were using the Internet to assist their seroconversive efforts. In his more recent research, he gave a strong analysis of what bugchasers and gift givers resemble in their behaviors, attitudes, and demographics. Drs. Christian Grove and Jeffrey T. Parsons' research using the Internet profiles of 1,228 bug chasers and gift givers identified 6 subsets of bug chasers and gift givers. In total, Drs. Christian Grove and Jeffrey T. Parsons concluded that bug chasing and gift giving might occur among a select few individuals. Further, their research found that there was substantial variation in intentions to spread HIV among those who indicated they were gift givers or bug chasers. Dr. Mark Bleckner found that some bug chasers were lonely and alienated, and saw HIV as a path to becoming part of a community that elicits public sympathy and caretaking. Other bug chasers were so overwhelmed by the anxiety of contracting HIV that they thought it would be a relief from that anxiety to become HIV positive and get it over with. And most recently, Dr. David Moskowitz, Dr. Catriona MacLeod and Dr. Michael Roloff attempted to quantitatively explain why bug chasers chase HIV. They claimed that individuals who look for HIV are more likely sex addicts. These individuals have exhausted the sexual high they previously derived by performing other sexual risk-taking behaviors, and now turn to bug chasing to achieve the risk-oriented high. Dr. Bruce D. LeBlanc conducted an exploratory study involving survey responses from self-identified bug chasers, one of the first published studies involving direct responses from this identified group. His findings challenge common sense and research findings regarding bug chasers. Examining psychological and social motivations for seeking HIV, the most frequent response was that individuals could not identify a psychological or social factor for seeking HIV. Regarding motivations for seeking infection, the most frequent response was seeing becoming infected as a thrill, hot, or erotic, as well as seeing the semen through a similar lens. Few respondents identified getting it over with as a motivating factor. Some limited identification of becoming part of the community or brotherhood was identified. Other variables studied included methods for finding partners, sexual behaviors undertaken while seeking infection, average number of sexual partners, length of time for which they will seek infection, and life event changes if they were successful in becoming infected with HIV. Bugchasing has, more recently, been taken more seriously by medical health promotion bodies, such as the Centers for Disease Control, which hosted a workshop on the topic, hosted by Dr. Michael Graydon of Carleton University, Ottawa, at the 2004 National STD Prevention Conference. The Bugchasing/gift-giving phenomenon gained press coverage and notoriety after Rolling Stone magazine printed an article in 2003 by a freelance journalist, Gregory Freeman, entitled "Bug Chasers: The Men Who Long to Be HIV+." The article quoted San Francisco Health Services Director Dr. Bob Kabach as saying that as many as 25% of new HIV infections a year were from men who had contracted it on purpose. Kabach disputed the quotes attributed to him, but Rolling Stone stands behind the story. Dr. Marshall Furstein, the medical director of mental health and addiction services at Boston's Fenway Community Health, was reported to have said that the clinic regularly saw bug chasers and warned that it was growing. He called the statements entirely a fabrication, but Rolling Stone also stood behind them. Stephen Weinstein, then editor of the New York Blade, an established gay newspaper, called the article less than truthful and attributed it to a Rolling Stone editor recently recruited from a competing lad mag who wished to make a sensation for himself. Following the article, the Human Rights Campaign put out an action alert, calling its members to protest Rolling Stone's irresponsible bug chasing. Critics criticized the use of the disputed figures by conservative organizations. For example, the Traditional Values Coalition used the article to urge the Centers for Disease Control to cut down on its AIDS funding. Writer/director Daniel Bort made a 2003 short film on the subject called Bugchasing, which premiered at the 16th Annual Austin Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, and was shot mainly in New York sex clubs. In an interview with the Austin Chronicle, he explained, "The matter-of-fact declarations of a string of articulate, apparently nonsensical people, affected me tremendously. I had to find out the reasons why such individuals will seek suicide in this almost symbolic way." At the Austin Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, the film was shown with an accompanying documentary The Gift by Louise Hogarth. HIV-positive male Ricky Dyer, who investigated the apparent bug-chasing phenomenon for a 2006 BBC program, I Love Being HIV+, said that an air of complacency about the realities of living with the virus may be one reason why infection rates have been rising. However, the BBC also described Bugchasing as more internet fantasy than reality, saying that, Dyer finds that the overwhelming majority of the talk is pure fantasy. The article also quotes Will Nutland, head of health promotion at Terence Higgins Trust, as saying, "The concepts of gift-giving and bug chasers are definitely based more in fantasy than reality," as well as Deborah Jack, chief executive of the National AIDS Trust, who said, "There is very little evidence of people trying to get infected with HIV." In the Showtime series Queer as Folk, a former student of Professor Ben Bruckner asked Ben to infect him with HIV, wanting to experience the gift. Ben refuses and writes a short story about the incident. General press coverage. In the NBC series ER, Season 7, Episode 13, Dr. Malucci treats a gay man who wants to contract HIV from his positive partner. Malucci asked the HIV-negative patient if he is bug-chasing. Fictional movie. On his 2003 EP HRG, Volume 1, singer/songwriter Mark with AC has a song on the subject entitled Chasing the Bug.